Let me paint a picture for you. So you are standing on this sleek yacht, cruising comfortably along the coast. The sun is starting to melt behind the horizon, but it's still warm on your face, and the cool breeze of the ocean feels like silk on your skin. There is not an email in sight. In fact, you have no idea where your phone is. It doesn't matter. You're not performing. You are not proving anything. You're just existing. And for the first time in a really long time, it feels like enough. This isn't a flex of any kind. It is a frequency, a state of mind, if you will. Welcome to Yacht Girl Summer. This is your captain speaking. And in this episode, this is going to be a mindset reset for anyone who is done shrinking and wants to effortlessly step into their main character moment without anyone's approval. If you have been craving more softness, more vibrance, and a bit of joie de vivre, then you're in the right place. You are where you're meant to be. Pour yourself something really nice and let's set sail. Hey there, I'm Melody Bose, your host of Jeans with a Blazer, a podcast about rewriting the rules of work and life. So it's been a while since I've done kind of a lighter episode. I feel like I've been focusing on some kind of heavy topics. I've also been focusing on others. But in this episode, babe, we're focusing on you. So as much as I love and respect the hustle, I respect just as much to take the time to breathe, right? Because sometimes we just need a break. And I truly believe that it's when we take that break, that's where creativity and our best self thrives. And I also feel like that it lets the seeds that you've planted in your life to grow and flourish. And summer kind of sweeps that vibe in. So what exactly do I mean by Yacht Girl Summer? And if you're listening to this a bit after it's been published and it's not summer season where you're at, don't worry. Yacht Girl Summer is more like a state of mind than a season, right? Just like this podcast is a state of mind. And I don't mean like escapism. It's about embracing, right? Not escaping. We're embracing our muchness. Wherever you are choosing yourself, not as an act of indulgence unless you want it to be. It's more about taking a combination of luxurious actions in your everyday moment to reflect back to yourself just how incredible this life can be. And much like if you were on a boat right now, just looking out into the water, you see how when the sun hits the ocean just right, it creates this just shimmer that's just shimmering back at you. You are that shimmer. So we're reflecting that back at you today. And so I know I'm talking a lot about it, but it's about choosing to move deliberately, to move slowly, loudly if you want, and saying yes to things, not because you feel obligated, but because it makes you feel expansive. So when I used to teach yoga in studios, I would tell my students at the end of class, after they were sitting up after Shavasana, to inhale and allow your breath to make you 2 inches taller. So before we even just kick things off even further, we're going to do that right now. So wherever you are, hopefully you're sitting down somewhere if you're on a run, or you can do it just mentally, but just inhale and just feel yourself just getting 2 inches taller. You're already a different person than you were just moments ago. Incredible. Now, I feel like I also need to clarify something because there's also a very nefarious kind of salacious connotation of the word yachting being thrown around. It's called yachting. And if you are not sure what that is, this is absolutely not that. But if you want a rabbit hole to go down, then absolutely do that somewhere else. But just wanted to make that pretty clear. Now, I'll get into it, I promise, but I just wanted to give a little bit of context and story time on what inspired this episode. So it was my birthday a couple weeks ago, maybe a few weeks ago, by the time that this episode gets published. It's editing magic. But I usually go out of town for it because it's right around the 4th of July, and I have something that I like to call cupcake syndrome. Everyone who has a mid-summertime birthday or a holiday birthday can totally relate to this. But basically, it's when you were a kid at school and it was someone's birthday and their friends might bring them like a balloon or some cookies or cupcakes, right? So if you have a summer birthday, however, then you never really got to have that experience of walking around school proudly with your cupcakes or your balloons. So therein, cupcake syndrome begins. But I feel like as you start to experience birthdays, as you just go through life, It's like this weird emotional roller coaster, and you don't really understand why. At least for me, I know it's like getting older and things change, and just you kind of check in at different points of your life, and you're like, oh, okay, things look different than 5 years ago, 10 years ago, just a year ago. So now, as an adult, to compensate for my lack of cupcake birthday school time experiences, I celebrate the entire month of July. Right? July is actually named after Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar was just like, I want this month. That's why October, which is it's just like octopus for like 8 legs, but it's the 10th month. So Julius Caesar and Augustus, blame them. But anyway, I like to do just a bunch of little things, and it's usually around one big thing. And the big thing is I usually travel somewhere. However, in another month or so, my brother and sister-in-law and nephews are coming from out of town from France to the US. We're going to do this road trip to Zion National Park and Moab. And I feel like that's kind of my big travel adventure for this summer. So I'm like, I still have to do something big for my birthday, of course, cupcake syndrome just coming in hot. And I was like, what is something completely outrageous that I could do without leaving Los Angeles? Spoiler alert, there are a lot of things. However, I really wanted to be on the water, so I got the idea to charter a yacht. I know that sounds so extra, but I just wanted to do it just to celebrate. I had a few friends in town who were like, yeah, like if you want to do that, let's do that. So I was excited to have people come to my birthday party and bring them on board and just enjoy some amazing food and the sunset and water. So it was very indulgent. But I set aside a budget every single year to do something special for myself because we have this one wild life that we know of. And so I just believe in living in it. So if I have something to look forward to in the middle of the year, that makes me excited and proud. So I figured out. And then at one point, just on the boat, I was looking around and I saw just my people just smiling and having a really good time. And I was like, it is so inconvenient that I'm not Jeff Bezos or Jeff Bezos adjacent, because like I would do this every weekend. I would also do a lot more charitable things with that wealth. So I am manifesting that. Watch me, I will make it happen. Anyway, I was thinking about, how I wish I could have bottled that moment that just felt so special. I wish I could just, sip from it all summer long, all year long. And then I realized you absolutely can. So I decided that was the start of Yacht Girl Summer, not to be confused with Hot Girl Summer, which is like, okay, yes, Hot Girl Summer, she's confident, she's carefree, she's living life to the fullest, but Hot Girl Summer says, watch me, whereas Yacht Girl Summer says, I'm already at peace. I don't care if you're paying attention. And also, very important point, you do not need to own a boat. You don't need to be near a boat or a yacht or be anywhere near the ocean to experience Yacht Girl Summer, right? It doesn't have to be this expensive, lavish thing unless you want it to be. It's about how you choose your experience. It's finding the luxury within yourself and that moment. Okay, so the most important question. We get it. We get it, Mel. Thanks for the explanation. Great TED Talk. How? We love a good practical application, so I will finally get into it. Here are just a few ways that you can experience Yacht Girl Summer any time of day, any time of year, and I'm going to go the extra mile and share how you can experience it in multiple scenarios at home, by yourself, with your family, out in public, with your friends, and even at work. Get ready. Okay, so let's start with the home. Yacht Girl Summer. Go offline for a weekend, okay? You don't owe anyone a text back or a reason. Put your phone down, put it on Do Not Disturb, mute the noise, and let your mind just like wander. So if you do not have a home where it's, you can find that peace, maybe you have a family, maybe you have small children, maybe you live with other people, okay, it's not about your environment. It's about what's going on in your mind. So find a space to let your mind just unclench and let your nervous system soften. My friend was telling me about this story with a silent retreat that her friend or colleague went on. And she said the craziest thing happened. It was a 10-day retreat. And the first day or so, you're just like, when you sit alone with your thoughts, it's crazy because they become very, very loud and you're like, it's weird to not speak because communication, verbal communication, is a big part of how we interact. But she said, after a day or so, it's like your mind just flattens, softens, and your thoughts just kind of organize themselves because they have this space. They don't have as much stimuli and words and things to process and organize. It's almost like giving your brain a chance to reboot. But anyway, you don't have to go on a silent meditation for the weekend. You can do a silent meditation for an hour, and it doesn't even have to be a meditation. Just like be silent for an hour, intentionally silent. I know when we're watching TV or we have stimuli and stuff, we're automatically silent. But if you just pause and intentionally be silent for a little bit, don't even worry about what your thoughts are thinking or where your mind is going. Just sit and exist with those thoughts. Don't look at your phone. Don't check your email. You owe yourself that space to just kind of unplug, to recharge. All right, next, we're going to do a 3-minute soft power check-in. This is not like a work thing or an agenda thing. Remember, we're still at home. It's very simple. It doesn't even have to be 3 minutes, but we love the rule of threes. So ask yourself, what do I want to feel today? When was the last time you checked in with yourself and you're like, what do I want to feel? It's almost like setting an intention for the day. And it can be so simple. It can be, I want to feel peace, or I want to feel happy, or I want to feel focused. If you're making that intention to do something, it aligns your mind into a space where the rest of your day can unfold with that kind of going on in the background of what you want. So you will naturally gravitate towards that intention that you sent without even knowing it. It's crazy. The next thing is, what would make this day beautiful, even if nothing goes as planned, right? We try and plan out our entire lives, most of us, some of us, definitely not me, don't tell anyone, but sometimes that just doesn't happen and we have to deal with it. And it can derail us so much where we feel like if we don't, check off our to-do list and our boxes, then we have failed somehow. You're breathing. You have not failed at anything. Congratulations. You're there. So to apply that is find something that's so average and so regular and make a complete spectacle around it. For example, I'll tell you mine. So I have one of my favorite French cafes in Los Angeles. It's called Sweet Lily. And I have this ritual where every Saturday or Sunday, I will go to this cafe and I will get, it's called the Frenchy Breakfast. It's a half baguette with a coffee and butter and preserves and a croissant, which I love so much. When someone asks me about my weekend, even if all I did was take 20 minutes for myself to go and get my baguette and my croissant, it was the most beautiful pastry I've ever had in my life. Like, just, that's it. I don't even know where to go with that because it's so special. And imagine if someone asks you like, oh, what did you do this weekend? Oh, I went to a cafe. It was good. Or, girl, sit down. Like, you're going to need to sit down for this. I had the most amazing pastry and the most amazing fresh preserves. That is experiencing life. That is experiencing yacht girl summer. All right. Next is keep a beauty log. All right. If you want an excuse to have another journal, or if you don't want to commit full-time to a journal, this is for both of those. Okay, so a small notebook, or it can even be a notes in your phone, but just record one beautiful thing that you noticed or created. And what that does is it trains your mindset to see life as this luxurious unfolding narrative, not a to-do list, right? So it can be a sentence, it can be just a few words. And then that's something that you can look back on and be like, even if the most beautiful thing that day was a pastry or your friend's face or getting to read a wonderful book, like that's pretty special. And it'd be cool to look back on and see what are 365 beautiful things that I did over the year. Amazing. Okay, let's move on to in public. In public, to experience Yacht Girl Summer, move like someone who came from somewhere amazing. Okay, what does that mean? We first got to have the uniform, and the uniform is whatever you want it to be. But most importantly, the accessory, wear sunglasses indoors. My sister-in-law, she's a true Parisian woman, and she's so fabulous. She wears sunglasses indoors everywhere. She doesn't care, and she's so fabulous about it. Like she can't help but turn heads, because she just like, I feel like she's already naturally confident and wonderful, but I feel like you're just like, ooh, like how mysterious. I love it. Okay, next we're going to curate our arrival playlist. It can be whatever you want to be. I'll throw some suggestions at you. Some French cafe jazz. We're playing into the French theme a little bit here, but we're going with it. It can be some sade. It can be some soft bossa nova, some just any kind of classical music. I used to listen to a lot of classical music when I studied for exams when I was in school, and it just made me feel so fancy, just ingesting this knowledge, but also like you kind of create this theme and this story for yourself, even if it's just a regular day. It doesn't have to be average, only if you make it average. So you can play this as you're just taking a walk anywhere. It can be outside, it can be at the grocery store, it could be through airports, just creating this tone of story for yourself, which you are the main character of. And what that does is when you're kind of lost in your own world, when you're so present with yourself, right? You can be present with your surroundings, but when you're so present with yourself, it's almost like you walk into a room and you're carrying a secret and people feel it. And you don't need to dominate that space. You just kind of change the air in it. And you're not there to impress anyone, but it just kind of creates that energy for others that just is almost infectious. Next, now this is a little bit different, but we're gonna go somewhere by ourselves and make it the most indulgent experience ever. Okay, so I used to feel weird about going to places by myself. I would always want to go with like a friend or a partner or something. And I feel like that was just me just feeling just one, socially awkward, and two, just insecure about myself. But it's amazing when you're left to your own devices and you're devoid of influences and, you know, others' conversations around you, how you can spark these experiences for yourself. So first, get ready for the day like it is the best day of your life, okay? No matter what you're going through, it could be a lot. But just have that mindset that, you know, that when you step into that place, it is going to be the best thing ever, okay? Notice the sounds, notice the colors. You're no longer distracted by, you know, having to tune in and be present with anyone but yourself. And if it feels weird to be there, like let's say you go to a cafe and you're just like in this weirdness and you're like, oh, like I don't, you know, have anything but my phone. Resist the temptation to be on your phone, and you're like, oh, is that weird? Because then people like staring at me, like wondering, like, you know, why am I sitting here so weirdly? First of all, people don't care. Second of all, it doesn't matter. Sit with that weirdness and ask yourself, why do you feel weird for existing in this space? No, you're a fabulous creature. You deserve to sit, stand, walk anywhere and be colorful and let that sparkle just emanate off of you. And you can truly learn a lot about yourself in those moments. And even if you come back from it and you're like, I hated that. Okay, cool. What a unique experience that you created for yourself. Amazing. All right, let's move on to Yacht Girl Summer with friends. Let's curate the moment, not just the memory. Okay, how are we going to do that? Create a low stakes luxury. Doesn't have to be luxury, but luxury gathering. And I'm talking like barefoot, sunset prosecco on the patio. If you're somewhere cold, it can be inside. Make a pillow fort. Strawberries dipped in chocolate. A playlist called Champagne and Feelings or Taylor Swift Gets Me, whatever. Bring a film camera. This is a big one, like an Insta-X. If you're going to spend any money on anything, get like an Insta-X or like a throwaway camera or whatever. And this is so 90s and 2000s coded, but hear me out. There is so much less pressure than taking a photo on your phone than with a digital camera. I don't know what happens. Everyone chills out when there's no like instant feedback loop, like, oh, I need to take a picture of this and post on my story or whatever. And I will, like, I have an actual experience from this. On my birthday when I was on the boat with everyone, one of my friends brought her digital camera, which like I haven't seen a digital camera in a long time, but I just thought it was I just thought it was so special because like she took these photos and they just have this kind of different, like, now phones are all super high def and you can see every detail and everything, but like it kind of had that grainy nostalgic feel, that like more detailed than Polaroid but not as detailed as a phone photo. And it's like you just capture that moment so authentically. You don't have the opportunity to take, a million of the same photos and have it be perfect. It's just like capturing a real authentic moment in time. So it kind of feels special. So make a day out of it. Okay, next, do something really, really, really mundane with your yellow friend. Okay. What is a yellow friend? A yellow friend is that friend that you feel the most safe with, right? You don't feel pressure to like be a certain way or look a certain way. Like we all are different people based on the environments that we're in and the influences of people around us. But your yellow friend is just the person that like you could literally just like be in the same room on your phones and not communicate and still like connect and have a great time. Basically, it's your comfort friend who just knows your soul. Do something mundane, like go run an errand, go to the post office, go to the grocery store, and like instead of, because I feel like we also put a lot of pressure on, making these great experiences when, we go out with people, or if you're introverted and you don't go out a lot, or that's just not your vibe. Like when you do meet up with people, it feels like almost performative. We don't need to perform. We're not here for that. Just do something mundane and have casual conversation. If you already do that, you are yacht girl summering just all day long. And it's fun to just like experience life just with your friends instead of having to make this big spectacle about it. Okay, next. Do something completely different with your friend or friend groups. So life is not mundane. It's so easy for us to get caught up in the routine and the everyday that we literally forget we have free will. We could do whatever we want. We could go wherever we want. And we're not an NPC. So what is it that you could do that's completely different? I'll give you an example. One of my very longtime friends, I went to visit her in the town over. She lives in Ventura. And she's like, hey, do you want to go to an improv class together? What? So I've done theater in the past and she hasn't, but she was just like, she's really open to trying like new fun things. And I'm like, of course, let's go on an adventure, girl. So it was really fun to be in that situation where, we went to this improv class and we were in this just a completely different environment and we were making these new memories together, and it was such a special time. And even if we were bad at it or whatever, who cares? We got to experience that together. So go somewhere new. It doesn't have to be this like fancy, luxurious trip or anything. Just go try something new. There's so much going on around in your community and your neighborhood. So go explore that. All right, at work. Okay, so you might be asking, how are we yacht girl summering at work? That seems like maybe not a great place to do that. Wrong. It is one of the best places to do that. So the first thing I would empower you to do is schedule like you are your own publicist. Okay, you're going to block a creative restoration time like it is a non-negotiable meeting or booking if you can do that, or whether it's, in your calendar, or if you work in something more consumer facing or like retail or whatnot, maybe that's taking a break. Even if it's just 30 minutes, even if it's just existing, breathing, journaling, or doing your makeup touch-ups with a playlist on, title it something indulgent and make it private on your calendar. Know that you're not slacking in this moment, right? You're giving yourself the space to take a break. Some of us don't even take lunch breaks because we're so busy, right? We don't take that time for ourselves, and we think like, oh, it's that time, we need to go to lunch. We just think like, oh, we go to lunch to have food and then come back to work. But what are we really doing in that time? Can we be expanding our minds, doing something creative just for that time that we have, again, in this one wild life? And also something else that I'd like to point out is your inbox is always going to be full. Your to-do list is always going to be there. But your next idea could arrive from just you being in your own space. How many times has that happened, right? Where you just are inspired by something you see just in the world, and then you bring it back and you apply that to your life. Make that intentional time for yourself. And then lastly, reimagine your email as digital energy. Okay, emails are not chores. They can sometimes feel like chores, but if you reframe them as energetic transmissions, you can make them sound like you. I know something that I always struggle with is exclamation points, because I feel like I'm a naturally just excited person, I guess. And I want to end my emails with multiple exclamation points. I do not do that in certain professional settings because I'm afraid of how it's going to come off. And in some contexts, yes, maybe don't do that. But okay, if you have a work bestie that's also your yellow friend, perfect. You can do that. Send emails with exclamation points to your heart's desire. Throw some emojis in there. Amazing. Now, if you don't want to do that, or you don't have a work bestie that is a yellow friend, try something. This is wild. Okay, you ready for this? So you might end your emails in a certain way, such as thanks, comma, your signature, or best, comma, your signature. Well, what if you threw something completely different in there, and it doesn't even have to be that crazy? What if it was warmly, comma, your signature, or with clarity, comma, your signature? Whoa, I mean, those are just two examples, but you could go crazy there. Okay, so the whole point of this episode is, yes, maybe to have a little bit of frivolous fun, but isn't that what this life is about? But also, you don't have to escape your life to feel luxurious. You just have to start moving like that's already yours. Yacht Girl Summer starts the moment you stop waiting for permission. So pop the rosé, play the music, chase waterfalls, take up space just like the ocean does, effortlessly, unapologetically, everywhere. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great Yacht Girl Summer. That's a wrap on this episode of Jeans with a Blazer. If today's conversation gave you something to think about, a mindset shift, or just the push you needed, do me a favor. Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Leave a review wherever you enjoy your podcasts. It helps more people find it, and it keeps these conversations going. And I love hearing from you. Follow at Jeans with a Blazer and tag me with your biggest takeaways, your latest wins, or just tell me what topics you want to hear about next. See you next time.